Meet Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, who once ruled Rome through tempests of war and plague. Alongside Seneca and Epictetus, these men of the ancient world confronted life's toughest questions from the heart of chaos. How do we find peace when all is in turmoil? How do we build strength from adversity? And how do we live a good life amid the rise and fall of empires? We'll dive deep into Stoicism, exploring how these extraordinary minds discovered timeless answers to life's questions, offering solutions that can transform your daily life. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of this philosophy and gain practical insights that you can apply today. To understand the origins of Stoicism, let's delve into its beginnings. Around 300 BC, Zeno, a Cypriot merchant, lost his fortune when his ship wrecked off Greece. Instead of despair, he saw opportunity in Athens' intellectual scene. After encountering Socratic teachings via Xenophon's Memorabilia, he studied under Crates of Thebes, a cynic. Inspired, Zeno began teaching at the Stoa Poikile, founding Stoicism, which values virtue and harmony with nature. Imagine for a moment you're living in ancient times where getting sick could mean game over. Saying the wrong thing to the wrong person could cost you everything, and your whole life could flip upside down in just one day. Pretty intense, right? That's the world where Stoicism was born, and amazingly, the wisdom from those tough times still helps millions of people today. What makes Stoicism special is that it's practical. These philosophers weren't hanging out in ivory towers coming up with complicated theories. They were real people dealing with real problems. These wise philosophers came to the conclusion that most of our suffering doesn't actually come from what happens to us, but from how we think about what happens to us. Change your thoughts, and you literally change your whole experience of life. And no, this isn't about positive thinking or pretending everything's fine when it isn't. It's about seeing things clearly and responding wisely. To further explore Stoicism, I've divided the rest of the video into 3 pillars. First pillar, control. This principle, first articulated by Epictetus, provides a practical framework for navigating life's complexities while maintaining inner peace. Epictetus was born a slave in ancient Rome. Talk about having zero control over your circumstances, right? His master was so cruel that he permanently damaged Epictetus's leg. But instead of letting this break him, Epictetus developed this revolutionary idea about control that would change lives for thousands of years to come. So, what's this big idea? It's called the dichotomy of control, and it's the first pillar of Stoicism. Epictetus basically said, look, everything in life falls into 2 categories, things you can control and things you can't. In one bag, you've got all the things you can control, your thoughts, your judgments, your reactions, your choices, your attitudes, and how you interpret what happens to you. This is your bag of power, your personal territory, where you're the absolute boss. In the other bag, that's everything else. What other people think of you, the economy, whether your team wins the game, if that person likes you back, or even if your boss recognizes your hard work. But most of us spend way too much time and energy trying to control what's in this second bag. Marcus Aurelius, the actual Roman emperor, wrote about this all the time in his journal. Even though he was literally the most powerful person in the world, he kept reminding himself that he couldn't control everything. Think about that. If the emperor of Rome had to accept this, maybe we should too. The real power here is learning to invest your energy only in what you can control. Every time something happens, ask yourself, is this something I can control? If yes, awesome, take action. If no, then practice accepting it and focusing on your response instead. Stoicism isn't about being passive or just letting life happen to you. Modern psychology totally backs this up too. They've found that people who understand and practice this principle tend to be more resilient, less stressed, and generally happier. It's like having a superpower in today's crazy world. The ability to stay calm and focused when everyone else is losing their cool. The beauty of this first pillar is that it gives you a practical framework for handling literally anything life throws at you. This pillar is like the foundation of a house. Everything else in Stoicism builds on top of it. Once you really get this idea deep in your bones, you start seeing every challenge differently. You stop wasting energy fighting against things you can't change and start focusing all that energy on what you can actually influence. Understanding what we can and cannot control is liberating, but it's only the beginning. The second pillar of Stoicism reveals something fascinating about how our minds shape our reality. Second pillar, perception. The Stoics discovered that events themselves rarely cause our biggest problems. It's how we think about those events that really affects us. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly when he wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," or, in other words, our life is what our thoughts make of it. We get to choose how we see every situation we face. This isn't just about positive thinking or pretending everything's fine. It's about seeing situations clearly and completely. When Seneca was suddenly exiled from Rome, losing his wealth and status, he wrote about finding unexpected freedom in having less. He saw his exile not as punishment, but as a chance to live differently. That's the power of perception. It can transform our worst moments into opportunities for growth. This doesn't mean ignoring real problems or pretending everything's fine. Instead, it means examining situations from multiple angles before deciding how to respond. When facing a challenge, the Stoics would ask, "What can I learn from this? How might this make me stronger? What opportunities might be hidden here?" These questions alter our perspective on issues and often uncover solutions we might have missed. Epictetus took this even further. Having experienced slavery, he understood that physical circumstances don't determine our freedom. Our thoughts do. He taught that no one can hurt us unless we let their actions hurt our minds. It's not what happens to us that matters most, but how we interpret and respond to what happens. Perception shapes the way we interpret and respond to the world, providing clarity and strength in adversity. But Stoicism doesn't end with just understanding our thoughts. It challenges us to take these insights a step further. By aligning our actions with a greater principle, we move from merely seeing life differently to living it with purpose. This brings us to the third pillar, where philosophy meets practice, living according to nature. The Stoics believed in doing what's right, not what's easy. They understood that knowledge without action is useless. This Stoic philosophy shows up most powerfully in how we handle difficulties. When facing a challenge, Stoicism teaches us not to waste time complaining or wishing things were different. Instead, we should ask, what can I do right now to handle this situation well? What actions align with my values? What steps can I take to make things better? The beauty of this approach is that it works for both small daily challenges and major life events. Epictetus taught his students that actions should align with our roles and responsibilities. As a parent, teacher, friend, or professional, we have duties to fulfill. Rather than arguing with reality or avoiding difficulties, we should act in ways that honor these responsibilities. This gives us a clear path forward in any situation. The Stoics also understood that meaningful action often means doing small things consistently rather than waiting for big moments. They believed in steady progress through daily choices. Every time we choose patience over anger, courage over fear, or duty over comfort, we're building strength of character. These small choices made consistently lead to major transformations over time. It's like building a house. You do it brick by brick, day by day. Every time you choose patience when you're frustrated, every time you pick courage over comfort, every time you do what's right instead of what's easy, you're laying another brick in the foundation of your character. Finally, let's talk about how they dealt with fear, because this is where their philosophy really shines. When Seneca faced death threats, talk about a rough day, he didn't just write about being brave, he actually practiced courage in real time. When Marcus Aurelius was dealing with chronic pain, he didn't just philosophize about endurance, he demonstrated it through his actions. After all, as the Stoics would say, we're not here just to think about living well, we're here to actually do it. Now that we understand these powerful ideas, let's look at one practical way to use them in daily life. The Stoics had a simple but powerful practice that brings all these principles together, the evening review. This isn't another complicated self-help technique. It's a straightforward practice that these philosophers use to grow stronger every day. Marcus Aurelius practiced this review each night, writing his thoughts by candlelight after long days of running an empire. Those private notes became his famous meditations, showing how this simple practice can lead to profound wisdom. He would reflect on the day's events, his responses to them, and how he could do better tomorrow. The evening review works by taking a few quiet moments to think about your day. not judging or criticizing yourself, but observing and learning. Try to ask yourself these questions. What did I do well today? Consider the moments when you maintained calm in challenging situations. Where could I have done better? Think about times when your response could have been more constructive. What did I learn today? Reflect on new insights or lessons from your experiences. How can I apply these lessons tomorrow? Plan actions based on today's reflections to improve your response to future challenges. This practice naturally combines all three pillars we've discussed. You're focusing on what you can control, your actions and responses, examining your perceptions of different situations, and planning better actions for the future. It's like having a conversation with yourself about becoming a little bit wiser each day. These ancient principles have stood the test of time for a reason. They work. Whether it's staying calm in chaos, finding clarity when life gets messy, or just becoming the best version of yourself, Stoicism offers tools we can all use. If this sparks something in you, tell us in the comments. To support us, like and subscribe. Feel free to share this with someone whom you think it might benefit from it. Thanks for watching, and as the Stoics would say, keep your focus on what you can control. See you in the next one.